Welcome to Beyond the Velvet Rope with Neil Oates Jr., the podcast that takes you on an extraordinary journey into the world of luxury service. Join us as we unlock the secrets, stories, and strategies behind exceptional experiences. From anticipating VIP needs to crafting unforgettable memories, we'll guide you on a path to service excellence in the realm of the affluent. Let's elevate your expertise and redefine the art of world-renowned service. Here's your host, Neil Oates Jr.
Welcome to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I'm honored to introduce Frank Mbanusi, a strategic tax educator and insurance-based financial professional who helps high-income earners and business owners keep more of what they earn legally and intentionally. Frank's work centers on aligning wealth with purpose, and we're going to talk about that a lot here in this episode. He doesn't issue investment advice. You're like, what? Instead, Frank teaches how to structure, protect, and grow wealth through smart tax strategies, income alignment, legacy planning, and cash-valued life investment instruments. Beyond the numbers, Frank Mbanusi is committed to purpose, transformation, and empowering people to design legacies that matter. Frank, welcome Beyond the Velvet Rope. How are you, sir?
Thank you so much, Neil. It's great to be here. I'm great.
All right, so we're going to have some fun here. So I mentioned a few things about you here, but would you tell the audience, share something with our viewers and our listeners, something that might be beneficial to them that I did not share about Frank Mbanusi, please?
I mean, the number one thing that comes to mind is I am a United States Marine.
Whoa, stop right there, stop. Okay, we were going to get there, but check this out. So, ladies and gentlemen, you all buckle up, right? So I love the fact that you said, I am a United States Marine. So,
Yes,
usually we say, well, we heard that they were ex-Army, ex-Navy. There is no such thing as an ex-Marine. Is that correct, Frank?
That is absolutely correct. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Simplified.
That is awesome. So I can't think of a better place to start than there, right? So this is not, so going into the Marine Corps, and first of all, thank you for your service. And I know you get that a lot, but actually before I go where I want to go, I want to ask you, what is something that sticks out? Is there a story? Is there a memory or something that sticks out that when you think about your time serving in the Marine Corps, when you were like, yeah, I was doing something like this was a good thing?
I mean, getting into the Marine Corps is the big story for me. 9/11 happened. I grew up in New Jersey. 9/11 happened. That was too close to home, Neil. That was really too close to home. And a buddy of mine, we decided to kind of leave our life and go serve. So right after 9/11, we jumped in, went to boot camp, and came out of the other side. And I was in Japan for most of my enlistment. So got to do a lot of cool things and hop over to a few different countries. So it was a good experience. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not already, so we're 3 minutes in and Frank is just hitting us left and right. United States Marine, grew up in New Jersey. You were born in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Right? So how do we go from Louisiana to New Jersey?
Yeah. So my mother, I'm the oldest of 5. So my mother raised us all by herself. My dad was gone by the time I was 7. He was sent back to Nigeria. And so my mom had to raise the 5 of us by herself. So we migrated from Baton Rouge, Louisiana over to New Jersey for her to start a new living as a registered nurse with 5 small kids under 7. And it was tough, but that's how we ended up in New Jersey.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, here when we go beyond the velvet rope, it's not just about working with the affluent, providing great service, but we want to find out those stories, those characteristics, skills, personalities that have helped the top in their industry or in their prospective fields to get there. What did you learn from watching mom, right? You mentioned, hey, like dad's gone. We got to start a new life, 5 babies. in tow, right? Under the age of 7. What did you learn when you look back, when you say, dang, mom, you are a bad woman? What did that teach you, Frank?
If anyone were to ask my mother today, how did you do it? That 5 kids under 7 and raise them all, she will say, hands down, only God, only
Come on,
God.
don't play with us, Frank. Don't say that, man.
That's
So, so,
it.
so
That's it.
how much of that and your mom's answer today, how much of that impacted the man that I'm having a conversation with? Because we know faith is heavy in our lives, right? Believing that God ordained that we have a purpose here. And I love everything that you're doing. How much of seeing your mom and then even having conversations and knowing that only by the grace of God, only with his strength, how much does that impact you as you're growing up and making some of the decisions that you've made as a young man and then as an adult man?
Yeah. The thing that comes to mind is that Bible verse that says, raise your child in the way they should go and they'll never depart from it. And over time, we grew up in the church, but I made my way out and made a lot of mistakes. And I always came back. And that is very, very true for me in a big way. So seeing that, growing up in that way, my mother teaching us how to be better human beings, better Christians, following the faith, it just paved the way for me to circle back anytime I made a mistake. I'm not perfect. And that's evident in my
All right, great stuff there. Now we're going to go back to the what you said earlier. So, ladies and gentlemen, you all just need to buckle up and hang on as Frank and I we have some fun as we take this roller coaster. I talked about, or I asked you about being a Marine, and you said, "Man, getting in the selection process." So you learned something from mom, right? You're living life. You're trying to figure this out. 9/11 happens. You don't go into the army, right? And no knock on, and I just want to be respectful. You all know my dad was a Navy man. He was a sailor. You didn't go into the Navy, not the Air Force. You didn't say National Reserve. We're going to dip our toe in this thing, right? Big dog, Marines. Why?
It's as simple as me and my buddy said, what's the baddest one we can get into? And we said, let's join the Marines. The
Okay,
few,
so
the few proud.
now, hold on. Now, because ladies and gentlemen, this is going to tell you a lot. Well, first of all, your friend, was he as crazy as you are? He had to be as crazy as you are for you all to just be in agreement with that.
I mean, yeah, we're little Jersey kids, we're a little crazy.
So here's what, ladies and gentlemen, be careful about the company you keep, right? And let me say this, be intentional about the company you keep. So you mentioned what's the baddest one that we could get into, but it was really that we could apply for, because then saying that we want to go in is one thing. Making it through selection is something totally different. What was that process like? What did Frank learn about himself? Because I'm seeing we learned something when mom made the move. We learned something as we made mistakes and tried to figure out life. Now you see that this tragic event happened, but we responded, and how you responded there. Hey, we're playing with the big boys. We're getting off the porch. What did you learn through that selection process, sir?
It was a lot of discipline. It was a lot of how to be a disciplined person. And that came from the way I was raised. I was raised in a very disciplined household, respect for authority. So going through that process in get qualifying to be able to go through boot camp and get accepted into the Corps was pretty straightforward for me. I was able to, hear what I was asked to do, execute, and move on. You know,
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you all to understand one of the most challenging things in life. This guy just broke down to discipline, knowing what the expectations were, and executing. And so, when you understand who you're working with or who you're being educated by and learning from, when we start talking about wealth strategies and finances, understand that this is not someone who is flying by the seat of his pants. And I think that's so important. Now, today, you're in the financial realm. Is that fair to say?
that is correct.
it's also safe to say that you are not an investment advisor, that you are an educator, right?
Yeah.
Uh, can we talk about that? Why go the route of education instead of advice?
Yes. Yes. So you can get a lot of advice out there, Neil. And in my core, I am an educator. I like to empower people. I like to make sure that people understand what they're being presented. So I take pride in that, and I try to make sure that I'm getting the information out there, help enough people, and there will be benefits to you. So I continue to serve in that capacity, in different capacities, but in this financial space, I focus on education. There are, I could get licensed and get certain licenses to be able to give advice, give investment advice, give tax advice. But right now, I'm giving back via education.
Okay, and so I hear this theme: serving, giving back, serving purpose, serving, giving back. Why come from a position of servanthood? Because typically when I say we, I'm talking about just the general public. When we hear tax, financial consulting, when we hear wealth, any of that, we think of greed, we think of someone that has an agenda to push. Why go the route of, hey, I'm giving back by through service. I'm giving back through education. When did you decide to make that decision? Because I'm sure that you have other colleagues who are saying, Frank, you could really be killing it if you do this way.
Right, right. You know what? That's a great question. And it comes down to, I've had a lot of great mentors over the years. I continually seek out personal development, professional development. And I know that at my core, being my authentic self, I'm an empath. So I know that's what I would want, you know. I'm in the sales business, so that is true. But there's also the heart side of it and the moral side of it. Not saying that folks out there that go in that direction are, immoral, but for me and mine, this is the direction that I choose to approach this industry. And I believe that I can be a good salesman and have that side of the equation as well.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us or if you haven't figured it out yet, Mr. Frank Mbanusi is not your typical run of the mill anything. And so I want to talk about, as I was doing my research, I see a few things that come up. Veteran, I'm just going to say a Marine, financial educator that we talked about, author, right? So that's sexy, right? But then also, this is the one that jumps out at me: advocate for purpose-driven living. Let's talk about that, right? Because in today's day and age, we think of advocacy in the political realm. We think of advocacy for all these other causes that might be controversial, right? That might rub people the wrong way. But it's kind of hard to be opposed to an advocate of purpose-driven living, but we see a lot of people who aren't living purpose-driven lives. So when you go to stick your flag in the ground and say, I'm going to defend, I'm going to fight for a purpose-driven life, what does that look like, if I may ask?
Yes, yes. So number one is faith. Solid foundation and grounded in my faith. And when I think of purpose-driven life and advocating for that, I'm really big on empowering people and
Mm-hmm.
shifting mindset. And number one is awareness. I've done a lot of personal development work over the years, and awareness is key. And helping people be more aware of how they show up in life. For me, faith is number one. So putting those things together is very important to me. And when I'm working with somebody, when I'm hanging out with friends or in my marriage, it's really, how aware are we? How aware are we of how we're coming across, how we're communicating, all of that, and kind of tying that back to what is purpose, shifting mindset around what is your purpose? Why are you put on this earth? And, I share some of my convictions, and I hear out other convictions, and it's all about empowerment for me.
Now, my question is for that person that's listening to us or watching us right now, they're going to say, Frank, aren't you concerned with the backlash? Aren't you concerned with the clientele that you're losing or missing out on? Or the people who say, well, nah, like you've made faith an integral part of your business plan, right? Like, so what's the foundation of Frank's business plan? Faith first. And they're like, no, 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 no. Shouldn't it be advice? And you're like, no, we're starting with faith. Then we're going to do education, awareness, and empowerment. What do you say to that person who maybe they might not be a client, but they're in the same space as you professionally, right? Not even the same space. What I mean is they're professionals who are saying, I know that I'm supposed to be doing what I'm doing for a different reason, though. I'm supposed to be living out my purpose. I'm supposed to share my faith, but this is corporate America. What do you say to them?
I think it's all blended. I don't think you can separate the two. Yeah. And that's very important. I learned that from a mentor of mine, being in alignment on the corporate side and, the relationship and the purpose and mindset. But that goes hand in hand, you know, and me integrating my faith into my business, there's a higher calling for me. It's not just about the money and the grind and all of that. It's bigger than that for me. And I want to shine.
So a couple of things. I must pause. I have to give a shout out to Miss Alyssa Falk. Thank you for making this happen. So you talk about alignment, right? And awareness. As soon as you came into the hotel, Alyssa was like, hey, you need to meet this guy. And I'm like, who? She's like, you need to meet Frank. And now I see why. And that's a beautiful thing about when you are authentic and you're genuine and people know who you are beyond a shadow of a doubt, beautiful things like this start happening. And
Amen to
so,
that.
Alyssa, thank you for this right here, because already, and this was not the intention, but already one of my very close friends had questions and didn't know who to ask. The very first person I thought of was Frank. And without your character and you authentically being you, Alyssa does not connect us. And then I cannot help a very close friend by giving him your contact info. Right. And so for me, ladies and gentlemen, what we're saying is always bigger. There's a bigger purpose than just the finances. And so what I was going to say after you were speaking, Frank, is this, that I tell my clients, I'm much like you, like faith is the foundation of my business plan. And I tell them, hey, we've got a secret advantage. We've got a secret weapon. What is that? Oh, I'm God's favorite, right? And God's going to make sure. Now, Frank might say, wait, I'm his favorite. And so I tell everyone, I'm God's favorite. And so therefore, if you are under the anointing, when it starts running over into my lap, your feet might get wet. So you're going to get a little bit of this blessing too. And so I do want to go to this part here. Your brand, Frank
Mbanusi.
Frank Mbanusi. The Frank Mbanusi brand is one where you continue to talk about helping people make more of what they earn, or helping people keep more of what they earn legally and intentionally. So legally, we understand why the legally part is in there, right? We don't want the pow. We don't want no one coming to us. But why is that word intentionally a specific part of what you do?
Yes, yes. And it comes from a grounding, intention, when the intention is clear, the mechanism will appear. So I learned that, years ago from a mentor, and intention is key here because, we've got like you said, we have the legal side, but intentionally seeking out more information and being educated on what's possible. There's a lot of people that are walking around not understanding what's available to them. So that intention for me is helping people be more aware and to seek out these solutions. And it's out there. It's all out there. You'll see a lot of it online, a lot of stuff getting thrown at you. But in my world, I'm trying to narrow people in to understand what is available, what they can employ right now to solve their solutions, to solve their problem.
you just alluded to this. How do we know what to be aware of? Because there's so much stuff out here, right? And so I'm seeing I should do this because, like you said, advice is coming from everywhere, even from the uninformed. Uninformed people are quick to give advice. And so how do we know what to be aware of and what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad? Because what we are seeing, well, first, let me pose that to you. How do we know what we should even be aware of?
Yeah, there, I'm a man of I do a lot of research, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are big researchers as well. The thing that it comes back to for me is alignment. Um, if I see somebody, teaching on stuff online about a certain topic, and I can see multiple people talking about the same thing, I'm going to intentionally reach out and meet with that person and say, hey, tell me more, give me more information, help me understand. And I'm looking at the person, and I'm trying to see, is this person somebody that I'm aligned with from all aspects of the spectrum, from all aspects. So alignment is key, and really digging deep and saying, do I align with this person? Is this somebody that I can see myself working with and somebody I can trust?
All right. So with so much information out here, we have people who may be aware, people who have a desire to be better and improve in every area. But then there's this thing called fear. Because, and especially when we start talking about finances and being educated, for Frank to educate me, that means that one, I have to be open to the idea. Maybe I have to tell Frank what I don't know. And this was even one of the conversations that we had. I'm like, Frank, I'm kind of nervous, to open up my financial kimono, right? You're going to see all the ugly. You're going to see this because once you start asking questions, and I know you're a big question asker, and you're a consultative individual. Well, let me find out, where are we before I start diagnosing, right? What do you say to that person that is afraid to open up, to share, to be vulnerable, but want to improve? What do you say to her today?
Yeah. Yeah, Neil, I'm very sensitive to that. And this may sound strange to some people, but for those that are in that space, I love on those people even more. It might sound strange, but it can relate. I'm an empath. So I can relate to where they're coming from, and it's my job to be open and to allow the space for them to feel comfortable that, this is fact finding. This is just me trying to understand what's going on in your world financially, personally, and from there, once I have the facts, then I can go into my lab and figure out what it looks like for potential solutions. So that fear is okay. I allow the space, and I think when somebody is coming from that perspective of, I don't want to open the kimono, I don't know about this, uh, really look at, who are you consulting with? Who are you asking to help you out? If you're not aligned with what you're hearing from them, then, keep looking.
One of the reasons why you and I are so aligned is because of a word that you've probably mentioned no less than a dozen times in less than 25 minutes, and that is mentor. What has mentorship done for you?
My goodness. It's almost like having someone that can listen to you, hear what's going on. The other day, yesterday, I was talking to my coach, and I got on the
Stop
call.
it, Frank. Stop right there. First of all, sir, you're not about to tell me that you are a Marine who still has mentors and coaching. Ladies and gentlemen, understand that this is different. I know you said that you're heavy into personal development, growth, mentorship, but now you're taking it to a whole nother level, and you're already great at what you do. I'm going to let you finish. I'm like Kanye. I'm going to let you finish, but I just want you to understand that you're just stacking this thing on. You're talking about execution, which we're going to get back to. You're talking about being decisive, discipline, mentorship. And now, just to really blow my mind, you've thrown the idea of, I was talking to my coach yesterday. Come on, sir. I'm in love, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go, Frank.
I appreciate that. Yeah, yesterday I got on the call, and right off the bat, I had a not so good morning. I heard something. I had a conversation with someone that really troubled me. And I got on the call and my coach said, "So tell me a great thing that's happened." And I said, "Hold on. I need to talk about something. I need to get this out." And I shared what happened on my previous call. And she walked me through in a way that I got to the other side. I came at it from a place of compassion for this situation that troubled me. And we moved on to the topics of the day and what I was getting coached on. So mentorship and coaching, it's huge to have that. I want to say sounding board, but somebody that can listen and talk you through your situation because I don't have all the answers, you know?
Frank, you might not have all of the answers, but you said something earlier that you break these complex things down into a system, a process. We have the expectation. Now it's just deliver on the expectation, do what's asked of you. But yet, as a grown, functioning adult, grown man, someone who has made it through some tough situations and some tough things, you still find coaching and mentorship valuable. And that's not a question, that's a statement. And you believe in it so much that you are on the giving end of mentorship now, right? So, could you talk about that and why specifically focus on helping men grow in their faith, their leadership walk, in their family lives? Because you're
Yes.
not getting paid for it. I mean, you could do a lot more financially beneficial things. You don't need the emotional stress or weight of helping men specifically get through some tough times. Why even do that?
Yes. That's a big one, Neil. Oh, about 14 years ago, I had a life situation to where, I deviated from my faith big time. Uh, made some big mistakes and paid the price for those mistakes. A couple of years after that, when I was doing just some personal work, uh, it's almost like I had a download that said, "This is what you're supposed to focus on. This is your life purpose. Your life purpose is to what you have learned from this experience. You need to pour that into young boys so they don't make the same mistake that you made in your early 20s." And it was that's all. It was almost like a gut wrenching. No, I don't want to do that. And that's how I knew that this is the direction that you need to go. So ever since that happened, I have been seeking out opportunities to serve in that capacity. Yes, I don't get paid for it, but I had that passion to pour into young boys, young men, principles, leadership, better decisions, awareness, so that they don't go down that path that I went.
All right. And you just mentioned the word principles. And it's one thing to have a strategy, to have principles. It's something totally different to execute on those things, right? So we know that many individuals, many young people, they might know the right thing. We might be educated. But when it comes to taking that step, to turning that thought into an action, how important is it to move from move from strategy to execution and action in every area of life?
Yeah, it's one thing, choice. It's a simple word, but in 2 years of work that I did years ago, it came down to choice. You have a choice. And having that plan, having that strategy and everything, it's great. But if you don't choose into executing, you're not going anywhere. So it's simple, but and it's challenging sometimes, but it's choice.
Simple but challenging. I absolutely love it. Spoken like a true Marine. All right. So, Frank, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, just so you all are aware, I had probably 40 questions that I was going to, or talking points that Frank and I were going to discuss about the financial side. Well, as you see, we did not get there, but I'm going to I'm going to keep those in my pocket for our next interaction, our next episode together. Do you hear me speaking it right, Frank?
I hear it.
And here's what I do want to go back to. You're in the financial realm right now. You are a Marine, you are a husband, but you were in the tech sector for almost 2 decades, I think 19 years.
That's
right?
right.
Where? How? Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I look at Frank and I told him off air that he's a black Forrest Gump. He looks like he has lived, like when you hear the stories, he's lived 7 lifetimes, met 18 different presidents, been in 3 world wars, you know what I mean? And you look at this guy and you're like, man, how old is he? We don't ask those questions. So where do you go and how hard is it to do a thing for 19 years, to be in an industry for almost 2 decades, which is a significant amount of time, and then to pivot and to make a decision? There's something bigger than this for me. This is not my higher calling. Let me go do something else that is also spirit led. What does that look like? What does that feel like to Frank as he is wrestling, or maybe not wrestling, with that decision?
Wrestling is probably the right word there, because in that transition, man, was I in the valley of despair in that decision. So I'll say this, there's 2 reasons that I made that transition. One is I've been doing the work for close to 2 decades, and I felt like this was getting a little boring, you know. I know the work, I do it, it's great. I was doing exceptionally well. I felt like I needed more. I needed more of a push. I knew there was a cap to what I was doing. I was also traveling every week, Sunday through Friday. I'm on doing government work. So that, in combination with, I had just got married, first year of my marriage, and it was clear to me that I did not want to be traveling back and forth in my first year of marriage. And I was thinking a lot bigger. What do I want to provide for my future family? I want to be more of a present husband. I want to be able my wife to work if she wants to, not because she has to. So I was already doing some financial work at that time, part-time. So I decided to make that transition. And I'll go back to what I said earlier. It was hard. It was a lot of spiritual battle there in making that decision, but it was absolutely the right decision.
So how do you get through those hard times, right? Because you're coasting. I mean, not in a disrespectful way, but you're like, man, this is so easy. I could do it. We're good here. But then knowing that you're supposed to do something else, knowing that there's a bigger life on the other side of risk. We have listeners, viewers today who might be at that crossroad and who are saying, I don't need Frank to tell me about finances. I need Frank to tell me something that's going to help encourage me to make that decision. Where do they find that?
Yeah. Isolation is a killer. And
Come
that's
on,
where
sir.
that's where I went. That's where I went. And that is, I will say, I never thought I would have thoughts that I had in isolation, but it came down to me being vulnerable enough to let my wife know what I was feeling and thinking. And she actually got my family together. We talked a lot. We prayed a lot. So faith and family is how I got through that 100%.
Now, so ladies and gentlemen, quickly, you all are just going to listen in as Frank and I have this personal conversation. Brother, how good does it feel to have a wife on your side that will give you what you need when you have no idea what that is? Isn't that a game changer,
It's
sir?
so good. So good.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you heard Frank just say isolation is a dangerous place. It's one of the most dangerous locations on the map to be isolated. So, we're going to encourage you to find someone to open up with, to do life with. One is too small a number for greatness, and it is going to be scary, but it's going to be necessary to open up. So, I'm going to put one thing out here so that I can be true to myself or my word and say, yeah, I'm going to talk to Frank about some financial stuff. But let's say someone is brand new on this journey. They're just starting out on this journey, and all they are aware. That's the level of, I know that I've messed up. That's all they know. I know that I've messed up. I know that I'm not where maybe I could be. I know that I don't know enough. What would be that person's first step? And I know it's a big question. I know that this is a big field, but once the awareness comes in that I don't want to be here for the rest of my life, I don't want to do my financial life this way, what might be the first step that someone could take, Frank?
Absolutely. Yes. That awareness is the most important thing, first and foremost. And then what I would say is seek out somebody that's doing what you want to do, somebody that's doing it well, somebody that you're in alignment with in many different areas, and have the conversation with them. Let them know where you're at, and see where that goes. Being open to those types of conversations and being bold enough to put yourself in those type of situations where you're having a conversation would be the next step.
And I promise that we're wrapping this up, but I'm having too much fun, and I don't want to let you go because I know this is going to be very important for our audience as well. You love this word legacy, right?
Mm,
So nothing that you do is just for Frank. It's always for the legacy, something bigger than him, bigger than this moment. What does legacy, how do you define legacy? What does that mean to Frank today?
yes. So what legacy means to me is really when I leave this earth, this side, I really want to be known for how many people were able to amplify their life on this earth based on any little thing that they may have got from being, experiencing me. How much can I give back? How much can I serve my family? Making sure that they are taken care of. Not material things, that's a thing, but it's a lot deeper than that. So what does it look like for them to live out the next generations knowing that, I served well, I shined, and they knew what was most important in life.
Mr. Frank Mbanusi is a man of principles. What will be one guiding principle that if you're speaking to one of those young men that you are mentoring, what would be a guiding principle that if in our paths crossing, what might be a guiding principle you share on the fly with someone?
Start with compassion,
Oh, stop it. Come on, man. No, 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 no. That man, Marines don't talk like that, sir.
right? Right? Gentle giant over here. Come on. No,
Okay,
yeah, start.
so let's dive into that because you could have grabbed anything. Start with compassion. Let's go.
Yes. Yes. There's a kind of mantra or saying or a principle that I learned years ago about being a compassionate samurai and exemplifying, the principles. We can say the um, characteristics of the spirit. You know, so compassion to me, if someone is leading with compassion, they're aware, they're not judgmental, they are taking personal responsibility, as hard as it could be in some situations. So I think if I was back in my youth and I had somebody telling me start with compassion and kind of going into what that could look like and helping me register what that looks like and how that is a powerful thing in a good way versus, whatever I'm seeing my peers doing and whatever looks cool at the moment. I think that's just powerful. In my vision, that's just powerful.
Man, I'm going to tell you, you are a great student because for your coach to tell you or to help you look at the situation yesterday through a lens of compassion and reframed everything, and for that to be where you're coming from, that's a fantastic place. So, we're going to have some more fun here in one moment. But before we do, ladies and gentlemen, all of Frank's contact info is going to be in the show notes, in the description. So make sure you connect with Frank. He's doing a lot of great work. And you can also reach out to him and tell him why he has to come back on Beyond the Velvet Rope podcast, because we haven't even started talking about the strategies or the questions that maybe someone should ask and some practical things that they could implement. But what we're doing here is bigger than just finance, money, wealth strategies, and planning. This is that purpose-driven lifestyle that you are so passionate, that we are so passionate about. So I want to
Yes,
thank you for your time. But
absolutely.
now, before I kick you out of here, because I'm not enjoying this at all, if you can't tell. So far, I've kept my word and I told you what we were going to do. I did not tell you this next part. We are going to do a quick rapid fire handful of questions if you're open to it. Are you ready, sir?
Ready.
All right, now my legal department, which does not really exist, they did tell me to let you know that you are not legally required to answer any of these questions. You got it?
Got it.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to hit rapid fire with Frank Benusu.
Nusi.
Benusi. I'm working, ladies and gentlemen. I'm
It's
from
all good.
Alabama. Frank Benusi. And so really quickly, before we go there, Benusi, you mentioned you were born in Louisiana, raised in New Jersey, dad Nigerian. Are both of your parents Nigerian?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm butchering Benusi. Would you share with our audience the real, the proper, the Nigerian last name?
It is Mbanusi.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if y'all can't tell how kind Frank is, right? Because he's sitting here saying, this Negro over here is butchering this thing. I'm going to try to help him. So, Frank, I appreciate you. I love you, brother.
It's
Okay.
all good.
So now, here we go. We're about to rock and roll. You ready?
All right.
Favorite color? Why?
Boy,
Is that the answer for real?
that has just been the color. It's just been the color. I like blues and purples.
So there's no deep underlying, like, hey, I'm a boy. Like, man, I've never heard that one before. Favorite food?
Italian.
Is there a specific dish?
Rigatoni.
Man, is it homemade or does it matter where it comes from?
Authentic Italian.
Authentic Italian rigatoni. Love it. Here's the one where everyone looks at me crazy, Frank. A nickname that only your family calls you.
Frankie.
People, oh, your family calls you Frankie?
My siblings still call me Frankie.
So I know our paths are going to cross because I'm seeing you on stages. I'm seeing you do some big stuff. So I'm going to say, instead of Frank, I'm going to say, hey, Frankie. And they're going to say, nah, come on. And I'm doing it. I'm doing all this and everything, right? So I'm going way off the reservation there.
That was fun.
So best piece of advice you've ever received.
You are enough.
Do you remember who told you that?
It was a real estate broker that I'm very good friends with we were in a network marketing company years back, a travel company. And I could remember she, on a break, we were standing under the lights and she was, we were just debriefing. And she told me, cause I had some insecurities around the business. And she told me, Frank, you're enough. You got this. And I never forgot that.
What has that you are enough done for Frank?
Just like most people, I get in my head and I forget that. But that reinforcement, it's like putting on that cape and saying, I put my pants on just like everybody else. So
good stuff. You are enough. Batman or Superman?
Superman.
Why?
He can fly.
I like the way you answer that. Like, bro, what are you talking about? He's Superman. Like, dude, he can fly. Like, I tell you what, next to Blue, because I'm a boy, and dude, are you really asking me that question? That's how I know, ladies and gentlemen, this guy is authentic and genuine. Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny?
Mickey Mouse.
What is one talent that Frank does not have that he wish he did?
Wow. I don't know. Yeah, you got me there.
Okay. Hey, I'm not surprised because.
Okay.
Give it to me.
Swim.
Now, see, come on. Why are you going to fit all the stereotypes, Frank?
There's got to be at least one, right?
Man, whoa, hold on now. Wait a minute.
I know where this is going.
So tell me where it's going, sir.
Okay. Yes, I was in the Marine Corps and I can't swim. Okay. When you are in boot camp and you have a drill instructor yelling at you, telling you, you will swim right now. I swam. I met the qualification, but I won't get in the water.
So hold on. Let's talk about that, man. So it's not just swim. You're like, man, listen, I'm not voluntarily like bathtub. Yes. Swimming pool. Nah,
if it's 6, 5.5, 6 feet, that's cool. But
because you can bounce off. You can bounce off. See, listen, ladies and gentlemen, kindred spirits right here. I was not expecting swim, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we're addressing all the hard stuff in life. The Black Marine cannot swim. So sometimes it'd be like that. All right. Frank, thank you for sharing that. You just made my day even better. What is your favorite book?
The Magic of Thinking Big.
Love it. Absolutely love it. One of my favorites, The Magic of Thinking Big. Not that you watch a lot of movies, but what is the one movie that if it is on and you're flipping through the channel, every time you stop and watch a part of it, what would that be?
Yeah, there's just too much. There's a lot. No, I got nothing there.
Hey, and I love the fact that I'm seeing your brain work. And you're like, nah, I don't want to say that because then it might be on today. And then the other one might, nah, not doing that. All right. Final question. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Mentor to many men.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Mbanusi, fantastic time today. Thank you for blessing us. Is there anything you want to say to the audience before we leave today, sir?
No, this is an honor. I appreciate you, Neil, for having me on. I'd love to come back and yeah, we didn't even scratch the surface, but yeah, just to the audience, this is a great platform that Neil has here, as you already know, and love watching the journey.
Man, I am going to hold you to that. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to go to the show notes, to the description, wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. Follow Frank in what he's doing. He is a man of God, a difference maker. He is an advocate for purpose-driven living. He is a friend. He is a compassionate friend, a gentle giant. So make sure that we follow Frank Mbanusi. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to remind you, and I'm going to speak on Frank's behalf when I say this, and that is that we love you. God loves you. There's nothing you can do about it. And until the next time we see you or you see us, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace. Thanks, Frank, for hanging out with us.
Thank you.